the music was melancholic even then. It wasn't metal, but it was like minor scales only. And if you go to church, which I rarely do, but if you go there, those songs are doom.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Markus, and I hope I say this correctly, from Kuolemanlaakso.
Thank you.
I
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
We just spent like 5 minutes trying to get the name right. I am so sorry. I have no excuses. I've been following music and bands from Finland for decades, and I don't know. I should learn. I should my three goals before the end of my life. I should try to learn Swedish, Finnish, and Icelandic because those are my three core countries for music outside of American English and Great Britain and stuff. And I really butchered these things, and I would like to know, like, if you like Solstafir, they only sing in Icelandic, maybe one song ever in English. So it's kind of like, I love these bands. And the Swedish bands, like Opeth did an entire version of their last album in Swedish. I was like, man, I really wish I learned the Swedish because it sounds beautiful and it's probably very poetic and much more appropriate, in the native tongue than in the actual, English. So my apologies.
No problem.
And we're here among other things, to talk about your brand new album that is out today. Normally, we don't get to talk to bands about their albums, and I'm going to say this is Kusumu.
Kuusumu.
Kusumu. Okay, well, we're just going to struggle, but it is a fantastic album. I think most people will probably know you from Chaos Weaver, and they know Miko is in the band from Swallow the Sun. But before we unpack the record and talk about all this fantastic gloomy doom music, let's just hear about sort of how this band came together, because it's kind of, I don't want to use the word supergroup because that's very common and gives connotations of different things like Velvet Revolver, which is fine. If you love Guns N' Roses, that's fine. But like I want to. It seems like it's more of a group of friends coming together to make art, as opposed to just like, let's get a bunch of famous guys together to make a band. It doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The way it happened was that when I was uh, in Chaos Weaver and we were making our second album in the studio, and it was super slow. We were in the studio for like a year and a half,
Hmm.
so I had like some spare time there. So I started writing new material. I was very much inspired by the first album by Triptychon, which is hard to pronounce for me. Eparistera Daimones.
Yes.
And so yeah, I was making started writing like very different sort of metal than we were recording at that time, because the second Chaos Weaver album is layer upon layer and super orchestrated and very complex metal. So I wanted to tear all that down and make simple and super heavy music that is rootsy and to the core. So it sort of started like a one-man band, and then the guitar player from Chaos Weaver heard my demos sort of like by accident, because I didn't play it to him. The guy from the studio did, and he was so blown away by my demos that he instantly called me and said that, hey, what the hell, man, have you been making these awesome songs, and why didn't you tell me? And I want to be in this band and you have to make it a band, because I was originally planning to just record one album and play all the instruments with the exception of drums myself and sing myself. But then I thought about his idea for a few days and I was like, well, yeah, okay. And then I thought that, yeah, I will just ask like a bunch of guys that I know that are super, super talented and easygoing and mellow. And that was very important for me. No assholes, no rock stars, just like very, very good guys. And so I got the drummer and the bass player, and they were instantly in. and we actually recorded the first album without having a vocalist in Germany in Victor Santura's studio. And after we came from the studio, we had like a list of guys who could possibly be the singer, and that list had like one name, and it was Mikko Kotamäki. Who the hell else can do this shit?
No one.
Yeah, I had met Mikko a couple of times before that, but he was friends with the other guitar player of our band, Kouta, and he asked Mikko if he would be interested, and fortunately he said that, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And here we are, like a few albums and I don't know, 12 years later, 10 years later, something.
Yeah, this is the fourth full length, and there's also an EP in there. And again, I think not this is not done for the the press. This is done for the band, the members of the band expressing this incredible music. I think you guys even have code names in the press, like aliases, to
Yeah,
just make it even more anonymous and less about you and more about the whole, which I really appreciate. And of course, Miko's voice, people will know it the minute the Swallow the Sun just had a release. People know who he is. They're going to hear his voice and be like, this feels very familiar. But at the same time, it's totally different from other projects. This project is, I always felt different, stands on its own, stands apart from anything else you worked on. By the way, I'm going to just say a year and a half in the studio sounds really expensive. And I don't know if this is a studio you own, but a year and a half of studio time is just breaking my brain. Uh,
yeah. It was owned by the drummer of the band, so
okay.
we were basically living there.
Oh, gosh. Okay, good. Because, gosh, yeah, it sounds like it'd be very expensive to do that in an independent studio you don't have a piece of or a member doesn't own.
For
And
sure.
that's a luxury a lot of bands don't have. And I was going to say, it feels like these, in general, your band's music is all very, provocative and very well thought out and composed beautifully. So it sounds like you guys did a lot of demo work and pre-production and planning and writing and arranging. Um, there is a very cinematic feel. I know that word gets tossed around a lot by writers, because who else but writers would use these words? But yeah, it does feel very cinematic. And the music video that you guys put out looked like a beautifully shot film, almost like a avant-garde film that has a soundtrack rather than a band making a music video in a typical way. So I love everything about this, and this new record is fantastic. We gave it a pretty glowing review on the site, which hopefully you can check out, and then we sent to the label. And phenomenal job here. Just like so, obviously, the last few years, the world is on fire and war and viruses and plagues. I hope you and the band and your families and friends and collaborators are all okay as we write this. A lot of people have lost a lot. As a professional musician, the inability to go on the road and tour means you lost a lot of income, and part of your life is making music, or even just as a fan going to see music. As I said, I was at a show rather late last night. It feels weird to be back going to shows some semi regularly. But um did the pandemic, you were not out of it, but did this event in the world aid the timing of putting the record out, or is this record just was going to happen this way anyway at this time?
Well, it definitely did help it because I got like laid off from work for a few months, and then I actually got some art grants from the Finnish, which are funded by the Finnish government. I actually got like three of them, so we're making like art grant doom here, and that's awesome. So I had the time to concentrate fully on this album. I was like working full time as a composer, which was like a dream come true sort of a thing. So in all this pandemic nightmare that's going on still a little bit, it helped this album become reality a lot. And I actually wrote it in this specific room that I'm sitting in. This is my home studio. And yeah, I had like for on this album I wrote all of the songs myself, and I had like so much more time and energy and effort to concentrate fully on like every single little detail. And I recorded the demos here by myself, and then um, I have an electronic drum kit behind me, which I bought for this album basically. So whenever I got like a song finished, I sent two versions to our drummer, one without drums and one with sucky ass drums that I did with the computer. So our drummer went to the rehearsal place, and then he just was playing on top of my demo without the drum track. So the pre-production was actually great for the drums, because then when he thought of like drum beats and fills and what have you, then he phoned me up and said that, yeah, I'm ready to record. So he came here and we recorded like drum demos for each of the songs beforehand, and we were discussing details a lot. And I'm the worst drummer in the world, like literally, but I have an idea of what's good and what's not good. So we were actually doing a lot of pre-production for the drums, and the drums are definitely a highlight on the album. I'm super happy about the drums and the drum sounds. And also when I was making the keyboards with Aleksi Munter, that was also like hard work. I had done like keyboards for each of the songs, and before I sent them to Aleksi, he told me that in his opinion, I have a pretty good idea about the keyboards on the previous albums, so he will just take my ideas and just take them to the next level, which he did, and he wrote a ton of new stuff too. So it was very immaculate and hard work, but it paid off.
Yeah, that's amazing. I agree. The drums are phenomenal. And when you're writing a song, obviously, when you hand it to somebody else, they take it and make it their own, which in a good band, that's allowed. And sometimes as a composer, I know in the past in my projects, it's hard to let that control go. I'm kind of a control freak, but it's good, for the greater good of a band. You want to let the artist contribute, especially if you are just you can write a drum part but you're not a drummer. The drummer comes in and puts the part on it and puts his own soul into it and stuff. I'm so thrilled that you got to do this full time, and art grant doom, that's a hashtag right there. There's your catchphrase. We obviously, a lot of people lost their livelihoods. You lost your job. A lot of people suffered this last couple of years, but artists, we always come last. Music comes last. The film, we don't count as much, I guess, in society. So it's really wonderful to hear. And of course, Finland would take care of their artists at least somewhat, because that's just very Scandinavian of you all. And in America, we don't give a shit. And we were like, well, good luck. There was some charity things, and there was a little bit of government help at the very end of the first year, where we got a bill passed through that helped venues. It was called Save Our Stages, because even but of course, we're talking about mostly corporate venues and a few independent ones. So we struggled here, but it feels like we're starting to come out of this thing. And this is a great music piece to open the new season almost with, as we almost approach spring. Very sad, but very like still in winter, but coming out of the winter a little bit by the end. I don't know why, Finland, everybody I ever meet from Finland is really happy and seems very well adjusted and cool and artistic and brilliant. And then this music is just heavy emotionally, it's heavy musically, and sad a lot of times. And I don't know if it's the weather or the temperament, or just what's in the water there. Help me out. Why do you think this is the case?
I don't know. I think it has always been like that. If I think back, like for like 100 years back or something like that, the music was melancholic even then. It wasn't metal, but it was like minor scales only. And if you go to church, which I rarely do, but if you go there, those songs are fucking doom. They're very doom.
Yes.
and and I don't know. A lot of people have been theorizing about the effect of the darkness and the coldness here, and it probably is a factor. Or in my case, I'm sure that especially the darkness is. There was like a piece of news a couple of years ago from my hometown of Kuopio that there was 0 minutes of sunshine in the month of November for the whole month. 0 minutes.
Yikes.
Try to write fucking reggae in a situation
Yeah,
like
try to make a Beach Boys song in that month in Finland.
yeah,
I don't know though, like it just seems like a beautiful country and wonderful people, and you got the best vodka and amazing cheese. These are things that would help at least a
yeah,
little. Beautiful people. I don't know, but yeah, thanks for sharing. It's always kind of boggled my mind a little bit. Like, Sweden has the same similar weather, Norway, but you also have like great pop music there, and Finland does too, but like very, your Eurovision entrants from Sweden are always like extremely peppy,
yeah,
and Norway has like very peppy synth music, to combat the black metal, to
yeah, yeah.
counterbalance the black metal sadness and gloom and grimness. So yeah, man, Finland. Almost every band, it's like you guys need a hug. But I really dig this record. I don't want to embarrass myself and try to badly mispronounce these song titles, but it will single out my personal favorite track on the record. It's meant to be a whole piece of music, and I feel like that, at least to me, that's how I interpreted this. Like, this is an entire album to take in at once. But if I had to pull out a track by myself to just single out, I'm gonna hopefully say this correctly. I'm gonna say Sarunen Sinfonia.
Mm-hmm.
Sarunen Sinfonia, which is lengthy. It's like almost 9 minutes, and it's very, moody, atmospheric, even a little bit, and then has a few peaks in it that are just killer. And yeah, I love these longer songs. I think suit this writing style also. I just think, the gradual, you don't have to boil over like a pot. You can simmer and go slow, and give the listener a chance to kind of take it in also.
Yeah, that song is definitely not for the modern day people, so to speak, who have like patience for 3 seconds. It really has to sink in, and we took like a chance with that song since the vocals are done with spoken parts on the verses, and it's quite rare and quite a brave thing to do on an album. But that is my favorite track of the album, probably too. And the thing I love most about that song is that it's super melancholic, and the thing about that song is that I wanted to make sort of like a guitar symphony. So that song has like a ton of guitar harmonies and very, very beautiful stuff. But then when the C part kicks in with the super, super heavy guitars and riffing and guttural growling and stuff like that, it sort of like draws you into another dimension of super gloominess, and like it's sort of like going to hell on amphetamine or something. and
Well
but
done.
in the middle of that part there comes this super super beautiful Irish sort of folk violin melody that draws you back into the heaven or the
Mm.
earth surface or something like that. That is my favorite moment on the whole album, and I'm very super proud of that.
Nice. A tragedy is always best with a little glimmer of hope. And that violin is your little glimmer of hope in there. Yeah, it is. It's interesting now that I think about it. It does sound a little Celtic. You're right. And I mean, I'm sure there's a Finnish folk music, the ancient, music of the people also that has to affect you, even if it's not in your music, the way it sounds. It has to affect you because you're just living history as an artist and a musician. These things come through you whether you do it on purpose or not. And so, yeah, this is a beautiful just a beautiful record and really satisfying. I feel like it's going to get better and better. And I feel like that's the case of all your music. Because everybody in the band has different projects and very busy and hopefully coming back to shows and touring. I don't know what the goals are specifically for this record. Are you guys going to get to tour or maybe play some festivals? I would love to see this entire record performed in one shot together.
Yeah, we will do some shows in Finland starting next week, and we were supposed to do the European tour with Dark Fortress and The Spirit from Germany, which are
Mm.
both great bands and relatively unknown in Finland, but they are the biggest black metal bands of Germany, and Germany is a huge ass country. So we had like everything set up. We even got some finances from the Finnish government for that tour and stuff like that, but we had to cancel it, or the headliners canceled it because of COVID and the situation in their homeland of Germany, which is a super bummer. And we will then do some festival shows after the club shows here in Finland. And about seeing the whole album performed live, we have actually been discussing quite a bit that which songs will we play live. And it's super hard to, drop out songs from this album. And I think that tells a lot about the way that the band thinks about the album. I think everybody in the band agrees that this is by far our best work. But we will not perform the full album, but we will perform 5 songs out of 7. So almost all of the songs on the album, because people want to hear the old stuff too. So
Oh, of course. Maybe our friends at Roadburn will get you in there for next year. And it seems like a thing they do. They will get bands in to come do full albums or some kind of special piece. And I would love to see that. I know they did a thing several years ago when I attended Roadburn with all the Icelandic black metal bands like coming together and making a new piece of music. So maybe they can get you guys to come in and do some kind of phenomenal thing, or someone like them. And again, cheers to the Finnish government. Holy cow. I had no idea that they were this invested in metal. Like, I mean, they should be. I always think of Finland as, Helsinki and the assorted cities are like the capital of metal in Europe. It's really great to hear the government helping at any rate, and even a little. That's amazing.
yeah, it used to be quite different. It used to be just the money used to go just to the classical guys and to the theater and stuff like that, like high culture. But now we're basically, well, not on the same level as those guys still, but at least there is money being granted to artists who are making like various styles of music, like pop music, folk music, metal music. It's not anymore in the way that, hey, you're playing this noisy shit, go home and go to your garage and nobody will want to hear that. It's the complete opposite. And I think it's much due to bands like Nightwish and Children of Bottom and him and Hanoi Rocks even, and Amorphis and Stradivarius, who led the way to everybody else. And so the Finnish government probably saw that, hey, these guys are like bringing in a bunch of tax money, so we gotta fund these guys and hope that plant some other seeds and give some money to the smaller bands as well. And I'm very super happy to be in such a privileged position that they even give me some money from time to time.
That's amazing. We love all those bands, and of course, rest in peace to Alexi.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, and thanks for this record. It was wonderful talking to you, and we'll link everything in the description and get people hopefully buying this thing, and perhaps get you back to America at some point as well. We'd love to see you here.
Yeah, I would love that. And our singer tours there quite a bit with
Hey,
Swallow the Sun, and he's
mm,
such a fan of the States. And I've actually lived in San Diego for 2 years,
yeah.
and and then I lived in Canada, Toronto, Canada, for another 6 months. And I love the States, and that's the place that I would, if somebody says that where should we tour, let's go to the States.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
rather expensive. But if we find somebody to, probably a Finnish band to tour with, and we get like a proper budget for it, I hope it will happen one day.
fingers crossed. Again, Marcus, really great to see you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much for the support and checking out the album and understanding what we do.